Chinese EV manufacturer Polestar is having a fling with an Israel-based corporate technical innovator named StoreDot. The latter being a company with a fascinating playbook of truly revolutionary battery technology, with just one minor problem. After 10 years of endless frickin' promises, none of it ever seems to work. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au. New cars cheap, Australia only. Website, card. One of the toughest things about being an automotive industry CEO would be the crushing weight, the grind, the relentless demand. Being forced to keep coming up with that endless stream of breathtaking bullshit promises to tell the public via the media. Who would want that? Like, dude, you think it's all stretch limos, Verve Clicquot, first class, and strippers in a cake at every dealer conference. But this is the real CEO burden, satisfying the ambient appetite for bullshit to appease key stakeholders. StoreDot is making huge strides forward in the development of their extreme fast charging technology, and we are a proud investor and partner in its evolution. StoreDot's pioneering extreme fast charging batteries, combined with our upcoming top-of-the-line electric powertrain, can revolutionise the ownership experience for EV owners with the ability to recharge in minutes. Thomas Ingenlath there, Polestar CEO. What was second prize, dude? Polestar CEO twice? This, let's call it interesting, association was announced at Polestar Day in LA. Yeah, I know. I didn't know either. That was on November the 9th. I always get Polestar Day confused with massage therapist named Tiffany Double D Day. No idea why. Just a taste of Polestar Day there, perhaps. That's how it would be if I were in charge. In fact, that's how I will make Australia less shit as your next PM. There will be a referendum on this one. Do you want things to be this way? The options, yes or yes. Democracy in action, dude. Seems like a very healthy pastime, doesn't it? Polestaring. I think that's the verb. It might be to Polestar. I'll take that on notice and consult Oxford and get back to you in a future episode. Grace, athleticism and flexibility there. Amazing. Grip strength too. Such a huge indicator of probable longevity, dude. This is something to be truly admired, I feel. As long as your wife doesn't catch you admiring it, of course. Now, there's a bit to unpack in all of this brave announcement. The real Polestar Day was clearly something of a joyous celebration of non-achievement for EV manufacturers everywhere, in the context of shutting production down, the glut of EVs out there that just can't be sold, the budgetary black holes back in the boardroom, and depreciation disasters for owners, etc. So, Polestar Day. Yay. StoreDot seems to be a spectacular non-achiever also. So, perfect alignment there between the brands. Hence the bilaterally joyous reach around on Polestar Day. StoreDot's latest achievement is the tantalising but, I suspect, bullshit promise of packing 100 miles of range into just 5 minutes of recharging. That's 160 kilometres, basically, in 5 minutes. According to evdatabase.org, the real-world range of the upcoming hefty monstrosity known as the Polestar 3 is 470 kilometres. That is for the long-range performance variant. It comes with a morbidly obese 107 kilowatt hours of usable battery, which of course is a profligate waste of the Earth's limited resources, cloaked in virtue. So, for 160 kilometres, you are going to need 36 kilowatt hours in 5 minutes. Crunch the numbers on that one, dude. You're going to need an EV DC fast charger rated at roughly 450 kilowatts. Like, Jesus. You could count the number of those chargers on Earth without removing your frickin' shoes. The most powerful DC fast charger I can find in Australia is the Terra 360, which, as the name implies, is terrifying and rated at 360 kilowatts. Like, wow. So 105 is bullshit in practical terms in the context of existing electrical infrastructure. Physics says not possible. Even if the tech works, there's no charger that will fire it up to that degree. The most powerful DC fast charger available here is nearly 20% off the pace. And the average 50 kilowatt DC charger is still going to take about 45 minutes to deliver sufficient electrical energy. As I see it, this announcement is a total load of irrelevant horseshit, gloriously enough, which is as expected of the company that put its Australian Experience Centre in a freaking shopping mall in Melbourne right next to the Dunnies. Polestar is working with StoreDot to bring their extreme fast charging technology to production. Dubbed 105, it sees 100 miles or 160 kilometres of range charged in just 5 minutes, can be integrated into battery pack formats that are already available, and does not need to rely on a battery pack design revolution. Okay, so 2 problems with that, apart from the fact that there are no chargers anywhere that will support it. But let's say we move to a magic parallel universe where there are those non-existent chargers everywhere. Still 2 problems, I'd suggest. A, it's a scientific fact that fast charging degrades battery life. So every time you do it, you're reducing the capacity of the battery slightly, but irreversibly and incrementally. Imagine if Toyota or Nissan did that with the Land Cruiser or Patrol, respectively. Every time you fill up at a high-flow diesel pump, the fuel tank shrinks irreversibly, just a little bit, every time, especially if it's cold or hot or anything else. Do you suppose the ACCC might regain consciousness briefly in those circumstances? I think they probably would. Anyway, problem B. Let's say a magical fast charge process is developed and it is miraculously 98% efficient. This means 2% of that incident power of 450-ish kilowatts will be dissipated as heat inside the battery. That's 9 fucking kilowatts of heating power inside a battery. A single-phase wall box charger, just for context, is sucking 230 volts at 32 amps typically, and that's 7.4 kilowatts, just saying. 9 kilowatts is therefore a shit ton of power. It's 2.5 15-amp welders running beads flat out inside a battery, generating heat. What could possibly go wrong, dude? 1 kilowatt, I'd suggest, would be more than sufficient to cause a catastrophic thermal runaway in minutes. So I do hope the battery's factory cooling system is 100% reliable and up to the task of dissipating 9 kilowatts of waste heat for 5 minutes at this charger that thankfully does not exist. Talk about selling the pot of gold at the end of the fucking rainbow. Like, just keep running, dude. It's just there. I promise. Now, let's talk about StoreDot, because this is a truly fascinating outfit. The company is calling its 105 technology XFC for extreme fast charging. But insofar as I can tell, StoreDot's main mercantile output historically actually seems to be running something of a perpetual motion bullshit machine. Proudly pumping it out since 2012, dude. Like, they've never seemingly stopped, not once. That's a real achievement. StoreDot's first high-tech bullshit offering was, quote, peptide nanocrystal displays and digital storage devices. Do you remember those? Neither do I, dude. In 2013, the StoreDot CEO said the tech was ready to be, quote, packed and sold. Allegedly, a prototype storage device was up and running and, quote, 3 times faster than conventional memory. Who wouldn't want that? Additionally, the display technology was claimed to be 20% more energy efficient than OLED and, incredibly enough, 90% cheaper to manufacture compared with OLED. These magical peptide nanocrystal displays were allegedly ready for full-scale production using existing factories and manufacturing processes in 2015. Remember when Apple moved to the full peptide on the iPhone? The famous iPhone Pep? Such a friggin' game changer. This is a wonder bra with twice the chocolatey goodness, which also prevents tooth decay and comes with a free membership to Mensa. Imagine that. StoreDot even spun the peptide nanocrystal display miracle off into its own company called Moleculed, which today has 0 employees. Go figure. But the 10-year-old rhetoric here, quote, ready for full-scale production using existing factories and manufacturing processes, sounds oddly similar to the new magic fast charging rhetoric, or let's call it technology, which can be, quote, integrated into battery pack formats that are already available and does not need to rely on a battery pack design revolution. Unfucking quote. It's almost as if those two claims were authored by the same spin doctor. Spooky, isn't it? StoreDot also promised organic peptide-based batteries for smartphones, which were capable of being charged in just 30 seconds. The promised deployment timeline there, 2016, followed by EVs and drones in 2020. Do you remember when Apple released the fast-charging iPhone, the iPhone Zap, with delivery by fast-charging peptide-powered drone? No? Me neither, dude. The next major bullshit advance from StoreDot was the magic germanium battery. Not geranium, dude. That would be absurd. Germanium, atomic number 32. Like, try to keep up. Fuck. That was back in 2017. Like, they never stop. The official StoreDot deployment projection there was, quote, millions of vehicles by 2020. Imagine that. Like you, I was properly overjoyed to see that one come true in the bleak depths of the pandemic. Said nobody ever. StoreDot claimed the magic germanium battery in an EV would charge fast enough to add 300 miles, which is almost 500 Ks, in just 5 minutes. And it would never degrade. That's pretty friggin' clever. This, of course, would require 1.2 to 1.5 megawatts of input electrical power at each charger times, quote, millions of vehicles. It's also, inconveniently, a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Like, dude, nothing ever never degrades. It just doesn't happen. Everything freaking degrades. Look at your face in the mirror, dude. The second law turns everything, essentially, into a clock. Look at yourself closely. You can always tell the time in the mirror. It's always later. Germanium does, of course, have legitimate uses, mainly in fibre optics and LEDs, solar panels, things of that nature. But nobody except StoreDot's wizards ever thought to use germanium as the foundational element for magic batteries. Go figure. A 2019 peer-reviewed study concluded that the company's claimed battery capabilities have no basis in published peer-reviewed literature and listed its unreleased products. Science journalist John Timmer could not identify in 2021 any published research about the company's germanium battery technology. Wikipedia there unkindly slipping StoreDot something of a barbed wire enema, apropos of its track record, and quite harshly so in my view. I mean, all they really appear to be doing is extracting cash from wealthy, scientifically illiterate investors. Nothing wrong with that. So, after divorcing itself from the confines of science, and 10 years of breathtaking, magical innovation, and a string of incredible promises, according to Wikipedia, quote, none of the company's products were ever commercially released as of March 2022. If you sent this upstairs to the executives as a script, right, for some sort of satirical drama, they'd knock it back as being unrealistic, wouldn't they? Therefore, I would argue, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, one should probably try really, really hard not to step in it, dude. But apparently, Polestar has, and they're loving it. Happy as a Polestar in shit, as the aphorism goes. Speaking as something of an expert on divorce, having had 5 or so, imagine how liberating it must be divorcing yourself from the obligation to respect the facts. Like, look how this has worked out for Electric Jesus. He's doing okay. As a personal aside, I'm really looking forward to the Magic Polestar Recharger, which could, frankly, have come straight from the skunk works at that beacon of technical innovation, Jesus X University. Full autonomy, dude, just 6 to 12 months away. You can take that to the bank. That is in the university's constitution. Gotta have some foundations in life, don't you? Full autonomy has been like that for the past 15 years, and in 2050, I'd suggest it'll be, you guessed it, just 6 to 12 tantalising months away. I can smell it. It's quite distinctive, that kind of thing. I read it in the tea leaves, actually. Of course, my tea leaves are generated by AI on my organic peptide nanocrystal monitor, which, just like yours, is powered by a germanium arc reactor. I'll be selling millions of those by XFC drone in my online store in 2025. You mark my words, dude. They're packed and ready. I guess this is a satirical way of saying, for fuck's sake, if we don't get serious about teaching STEM to the kiddies and instilling proper critical thinking discipline in future generations, the bullshitters really will run amok. And then humanity is going to be properly fucked. Essentially, we'll be manufacturing our own comet and throwing it at the Earth and then shuffling off out the back door, kind of like the dinosaurs. So well done, Poldot or Storestar, whatever nonsense name ultimately evolves from this perfect match. Brilliant fit for both brands. 2 bullshit businesses as one, running towards the light with all the grace of Virgil Tracy on a coke-fueled bender at a rave.